The water in this area, in all of Gentilly, it was over 10 feet. In this area right here, if you come over here and you look at the side of this house, you see this dark mark that goes up the side? Oh my gosh. The square above where that black mark ends, the bottom of that square, that's how high the water was here. That kind of puts it into perspective. Right? Wow. I want to address the question that I get more than any other question, and that is, after 10 years, why isn't it done? There are many, many reasons, starting with, from the very beginning, you had to get all your paperwork together. The deed to your house, your insurance papers, all of that. Where do you suppose that paperwork was? In the house. In the water. By the way, the courthouse was flooded too. Even if you had insurance on your house, and even if that insurance paid out, most people had a clause in their mortgage that said if there is a natural disaster and there's any question whether or not you can rebuild your house, that money, insurance check, will go directly to your mortgage company. You will never touch it. If you didn't have that clause in your mortgage, you got a letter from your mortgage company implying that that clause was in your mortgage. Either way, you didn't have any money because it all went to the mortgage company. Now maybe your mortgage is paid off, the house is paid off, but you can't even walk inside that house without a Tyvek and the mask. This is why volunteers became so critical so early on, because they had the money for the materials, they had no money for labor. When I first got here, there were some contractors locally who came up and they were a little angry at us showing up. They said, "You're taking work away from us." So I explained to them, well, only if you're willing to work for free. There's a group of beings that I can't even bring myself to call people. They follow disasters for the express purpose of taking advantage of desperate people. They came here in epidemic proportions. They called themselves contractors, whether or not they actually were, and they stole their money. To give you an idea how much that happened, I worked on one house where 2 detectives showed up to investigate the contractor fraud. I asked them, between the two of you, how many of these cases do you have? They told me 900.
Oh my God.
That's just 2 of the detectives. For 6 years, I didn't work on a single house that didn't have contractor fraud, anywhere between $35,000 and $100,000 worth. I might have a roof above my head, but I'm literally sleeping on a concrete slab. In the midst of all of this, there was one problem that came up. Anybody heard of Chinese sheetrock? We needed so much of that, and we needed to get it inexpensively. And they located a provider of sheetrock that was made in China. It was inexpensive, so they shipped tons and tons of it here. Within 6 to 12 months, their electrical systems burned out, and they started having respiratory problems because there's a chemical in that sheetrock that causes these things. Only way to fix it is to completely gut the house down to the studs and start over. With all the people that fell through the cracks of the Road Home program, there was $80 million left. This legislation said that with that $80 million, if you had forced mortgage payoff and you're not back in your house, if you had contractor fraud and you're not back in your house, if you had Chinese sheetrock and you're not back in your house, you now are going to get the funding to complete the house and finally come home.
That wall over there is one of the levees. It's kind of cool to see it in person.
And to give you an idea of the force of that water, there used to be a house on that lot on a cement slab. The force of that water pushed that house, slab and all the way across the street.
She was saying that hole in the roof is where people had to escape to get out of the water that was coming in their home, but that hole is also lower than the highest water level on the house next to it. That's really scary. this is also the levee. And those houses are the Brad Pitt houses. She said there's one down the street that floats. It was made to float. That little one is the floating house.
Brad Pitt's floating house.